So second play of the game, we come out in essentially goal line personnel. Got two tight ends here and an extra offensive lineman. And one of those tight ends is Luke Pullman, who's actually also an offensive lineman. And you've got Berryhill in at fullback. So this is normally like short yardage personnel. It's rare that you see, an imposition of will so clearly embodied in a formation. Usually that's something that happens post-snap. But here we're pretty clearly saying, Kansas, your defensive linemen are undersized, and you can only field 3 of them. So we're going to put 8 men on the line of scrimmage and, do with that whatever you want. Kansas doesn't really have a response for this, just even in personnel. So you can see they actually leave our 2 men on the end of the line uncovered here. And so we run power here, and that creates, just a huge hole when these guys block down on the power, and Berryhill kicks out. You've got a huge hole for Malcolm Brown. And you can see that sets him up for a one-on-one with this defensive back. That's precisely what you want on paper, is you want to get your power back in one-on-ones against defensive backs and then force them to, make a play on him in the open, have to tackle him where he's at his best. So, and you do that over the course of the game, and eventually those tackles start becoming missed tackles. Just to back up here, I want to take a look at one more thing about this play. Just watch the double team that Trey Allen and Trey Hopkins put on this defensive end. He ends up a full 7 yards downfield on the ground. So it's a nice tone to set on the opening drive. And certainly it kind of foreshadowed how things were going to go for Kansas. So one of the really cool things about the Kansas game is that you can see focus starting to come to our offense. We worked almost exclusively on 3 complementing pieces in this game. The first is the power running game, and then we also worked on the quick game and the screen game. And those 3 pieces kind of all fit together with what we're seeing from defenses right now. Our power game is kind of complemented by our jet sweeps and sort of outside constraints that we're running right now. And what that does is it keeps defenses from really loading the box, because they need to be able to adjust to our motion at the third level of their defense. So what they're doing instead is trying to bring pressure off the edges and or playing players kind of in this gray area. You can see here Kansas kind of aligns one player in the gray area of the box right on the edge, and then they eventually bring this corner on a blitz late. So one way to deal with that is with the screen game and try to lure them in and then screen behind it. Another way to deal with that is with the quick game and work the ball to your wide receivers. Just 2 different ways to deal with the same thing, but you need to have more than one response to that edge pressure, and that allows your power game to continue to be viable. So what we see here from the defense looks like a quarters look on this side, or it could be soft man. And that's where we're going to work, because with either of those cover, it could even actually be cover 3 cloud here, with this corner dropping deep, and then this safety dropping into this deep zone, and this safety taking this deep zone. So any of those are possible, but the common factor with all of them is that this flat should be open as long as you can hold this flat defender on the seam a little bit. And so that's what this route configuration is designed to do. The tight end is going to hold this defender here a little bit longer, and then we're going to exploit the flat on a quick out. The important thing there really is execution between the wide receiver and the quarterback. And you can see here Ash throws a nice quick pass on a 3-step drop and hits Shipley. Easy 9-yard pickup. Just watch the mechanics of that from Ash one more time. You can see nice 3-step drop, and then he gets the ball out quickly. If you're not happy with what you're seeing from Ash in the quick game, based on his progression in the last 3 games, you're just not paying attention, because he's made great progress there. He throws a nice ball, and he's fairly accurate. So those are really great things for us going forward. We come back the next play and run power row to the field here, and this is the first breakout run we get in the game. See great blocking at the point of the attack there from Cody Johnson and Mason Walters. Malcolm gets sprung into the secondary, and we get a huge gain. Power row was a huge part of our game plan and really successful for us in this game. By the second half, we were calling it, every other play just about. Let's take another look at this play from the end zone. A couple things I want to point out here. We've clearly worked on the power row a lot in the off week. One thing is just on the backside of the play here. Watch the coordination from Trey Allen in cutting off that space. It's a great first step on the hinge block there. We looked in some of the other games about how crashing defensive ends caused us problems coming down the line. And you can see with Espinoza, he's actually looking for that crashing defensive end against this odd front. And him and Hopkins immediately take away that hole that's created by the pulling lineman. The other thing is, notice how this play looks for these play side defensive linemen. If you watch the motion of these three linemen, this feels exactly like outside zone. So what they're trying to do is make sure they don't get sealed from this side, and that's why you see them, looks like they're slanting, but they're actually just reacting to that motion from the offensive line. And that results in them running themselves right out of the play and kind of doing our down blocks job for them. So the thing to notice here is that Pullman's in at tight end again, and he did a great job in this game as blocking from the tight end position. He kind of stepped into that role and had a better game blocking than any of our tight ends on the roster. Cody Johnson is really kind of turning the corner. I thought against Oklahoma State he showed signs of real progress, and against Kansas he had a dominant game. You see him here. One of the problems he had issues with earlier in the year was coming to the point of attack out of control and whiffing on blocks. Compare that with what he's doing now. You see him gather himself, let the defender come to him, control the contact, and then just dominate the block. And then, from Malcolm Brown's perspective, he's looking at a hole that's sealed from both sides with no one in the hole at all, clear running room. So that's as good as it gets from the running back position. So the next play we come back and run power row again, this time to the short side of the field. It's an interesting case in looking at alignment from Kansas. If you look at our alignment, we're aligning clearly with strength to the short side of the field. But if you look from Kansas, they really only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders to the short side of the field, whereas we have 6 blockers. So we already are outnumbering them. In addition to that, we're going to bring the pulling lineman, and that's going to give us an extra blocker to that side. So some things to note on this play on execution. Our down blocks work really well here. You can see we get initially a double team on this tackle and then work up to the linebacker. Pullman does a great job there of winning that block. And then again, see Cody Johnson coming down and taking on the defensive end here. And, initially that's a couple weeks ago, that's a battle he probably loses, and it's a battle that he wins here. And he's, like I said, he started winning battles against Oklahoma State, and he consistently won battles in this game. Malcolm Brown makes a little bit of a bad read here. He decides to bounce this ball because he sees that defensive end crashing. But really, because Cody Johnson does win this block, if he trusted that block and followed his lead blocker here, then he's on the inside, and this linebacker has to come through the blocker to try to make a play on him, and that would result in a running lane to the second level. Also sets up these 2 blocks we have coming downfield to pick up the 2 defensive backs. So this play doesn't go for hardly any gain because Malcolm Brown ends up with an unblocked defender coming toward him. But if you chose that a little differently, then that play probably goes pretty big. So then we go with the Wildcat package again, and you can see that Pullman is again in at tight end. Certainly the coaches must have seen something they liked in the bye week with him because he was included in a lot of packages in this game plan. And, you know, the success of he and Cody Johnson in this game was really, in my opinion, the huge difference in the run game. The offensive line has really been run blocking well for a lot of the year. But it's starting to show up big time now because we're getting the blocking from the extra blockers that is making the runs wide open. Important to note on this play, one, we're not going with an unbalanced line anymore. The addition of Cochran and Pullman allows us to go balance and still get the same blocking leverages, if not better blocking leverages than we were getting from unbalance. Another thing to notice is you got a defensive end lined up in a 9 technique, and you have a tight end who can seal him out now and take him on one-on-one and win that battle. So that's a great view of us. You know, every single defender is blocked in this picture for Whitaker, except for this one free defender, and that's why he chooses to go inside here. I think if he actually chooses to cut this outside, he gets a better running lane on this, partially because Cody Johnson is just completely obliterating the linebacker here on this block. But, you know, either way we get the first down, and we converted extremely well from the Wildcat as we've been doing all year in this game. So a little bit later here in the red zone now, we come back to that play we ran earlier in the drive. We're aligned strong to the short side of the field, and we're going to run power to that side. So one thing is, notice that Kansas this time has 6 defenders to that short side of the field as opposed to 5. So you're getting a little bit better numbers over there. I want to point out Cochran's block here and also Pullman. Here the defense has aligned in a 9 technique again. Pullman does a nice job again of creating a seal here. So rather than blocking down in that case, he's going to create a seal against a 9 technique. And then watch what Pullman does in comboing the defensive tackle and then working up to the linebacker. That's textbook blocking from him to work the combo to that second level there. So that's great to see from a freshman. Because that's not an easy technique to get down. Then you see Brown, what he does on this play is really great. So you've got a safety that comes down and fills the hole. After we get all our assignments, kind of plays the play aggressively since it's in the red zone. And Malcolm has great vision here to make a cutback, or maybe just instincts. Once he makes that cutback, though, he makes it work for him and pushes all the way to the end zone. So Kansas played the short side of the field a little bit more aggressively there, but then the cutback on the power can sometimes open up when that happens. So, you know, we're starting to get into the diversity of the power play and really making it work for us.